sure how it happened. One minute, her ski group had just one step ahead of her, and the next minute they had gone so far ahead, and she could no longer see them among the white glare. She's still alone with her ski poles, and the skis still strapped to her boots, cursing her luck. Of course, she had to get distracted by an adorable herd of Piplup, Primplup, and Ampelorian. She had to stop and stare at the magnificence of the leaders, long horns and sleek appearance. Her momentary distraction had separated her from the group, who had no idea she wasn't paying attention. But she wasn't so worried. Not much. Sure, it was very cold, and sure, there were reports that a blizzard would blow in within a few hours. Her group wouldn't forget about her, right? Once they noticed she was missing, they would send out a search team. A sleigh would be towed by a flying team of arcanines who braved the cold with their fires and used their keen sense of smell to find lost people and bring them back to a safe shelter. When she was rescued, she would be back by the fire and joking about it with her friends. She was sure they would tease her about her wandering intention and say she had the attention span of a skitty. The incident would be forgotten and they would be off on another ski trip tomorrow. So really, there was nothing to worry about, right? The wind was really beginning to pick up. There was no way she could get a fire going to keep her warm or to make a signal. It would just blow out right away. The snowflakes pelted her face and she wished she had something to cover her face up with. At the rate of wind was blowing, it would take longer for the search team to find her. Scents usually remained in the snow and arcanines weren't so easily tricked. But if the snow was blown in another direction, they might follow the wind and miss her completely. The blizzard was definitely starting, but she remained optimistic. If she could find the direction her group was headed, maybe she could make it easier for the arcanines to find her. She had been in the same place she was before, so her group could retrace their steps and find where they had lost her. But staying in the same spot wasn't working. Now she had to get moving. She was starting to get very cold, even though she was bundled up properly before heading out. The temperatures were dropping rapidly now, and movement might be her only possible way of keeping warm. So she grabbed her ski poles and began walking. Which way was the lodge? The blizzard had begun to blow so hard and limiting her visibility. She had been walking for 2 hours and she still hadn't got anywhere. There was also no sign of the search team or any rescue Pokemon. She shivered. It was way too cold now. This was the kind of weather where spit would freeze before hitting the ground. It was also getting dark, which added to her fears. Search teams would brave blizzards in the day to help people, but they never pursued a search in the darkness. She didn't know what to do. If there was some sort of shelter somewhere, like a cave or a bunch of trees that would shield her from the wind, she could spend the night huddled up and try and sleep a bit. The blizzard would pass and she would have more visibility to try and find her way down. As it was, she couldn't see 2 feet in front of her face. It was so cold. Defeated by the elements, she settled down near some trees and hoped someone would find her soon. She crossed her arms in front of her, pulled her hat down as far as she could, and closed her eyes. She began to lose feeling in her feet and hands. The numbness spread to her arms and legs. It moved across her body, leaving her completely cold and shivering for warmth. Even though she hugged her body tightly, it refused to warm up. Her vital organs were dropping in temperature, and her heartbeat slowed. It's so cold. So cold. I will never be warm again. It was late in the afternoon when they found her. Her features were caked with frost and her skin was blue. She was frozen to the touch and any efforts to rouse her were futile. She was dead. A terrible accident, they said. A woman lost in the mountains had frozen to death in the plunging cold. The rescue team was sorry they couldn't find her in time, and nothing could soften the blow to her friends and family. They had no idea the woman would have her revenge. You were too late. 3 months after the woman had died, the rescue team were out in the snow to train some new Growliths and Arcanines. The lodge was closed to visitors since the woman's deaths. Skiers had to start looking into safer places to ski, and hardly anyone trusted the people who ran the lodge anymore. The lodge owner had publicly blamed his emergency search team and their Arcanines worthless mutts. Now the search team was forced to train new dogs all over again. Mush, sniff, find, howl, halt. They had passed the same spot where the dead woman was found. Many of the searchers shuddered and felt a deep sadness whenever they saw that one particular tree, now posing across to pay tribute to the dead woman. The dogs had a different reaction. They suddenly came to a stop and started barking at something. "Hey, what's going on? What's up, fellas?" the musher said. He tried to get the dogs to move, but they stayed frozen into the spot. The lead one were growling and backing up. Their hair on their back was standing straight up. "You were too late. I depended on you. You let me down and left me to die." A gust of wind blew some snowflakes in, odd, considering it was a clear day, and the air suddenly got colder. The dogs' barking got louder and louder, and a figure appeared in the middle of the blowing wind. From where the musher stood, it seemed to be a creature that resembled a woman wearing a kimono. What scared him was she seemed to be floating instead of walking and was headed right for him. A blast of cold air washed over his team of dogs and they stopped barking. Another blast was all it took to freeze them solid. The musher stood still, paralyzed with fear. He tried to urge his dogs to move, hoping their inner fires would thaw the frost, but he got no response. The creature was much closer to him now. He could see her clearly. Her eyes were ablaze with hatred and evil. She opened her mouth and one more blast of cold air left her body. The musher had no time to scream before he was frozen solid. No one dares to go near that haunted spot anymore. Not only did a woman die up there, but people say that the team that was training and had disappeared are still up there, frozen in time and rooted to the spot. They say that if you do venture up there, you can hear a woman laughing in a mocking way. She will invite you to come closer to see her lovely display. Some travelers have gone missing up there as a result of this beckoning woman and were later found frozen solid. It's beautiful, so beautiful. Won't you come and see my lovely prey? Okay, so this third one, this one was called 50 Below Zero, and basically this one's kind of an original creepypasta story. It's not pertains to anyone you may have heard of. This one was just actually an original one done by Shadowstar. Basically, if you, as you read, you probably wouldn't even expect it, but after you get to the next part, after where they said that the dog started to see something ahead, and they say that let me think for a minute. Trying to figure out a better way to say this. Basically, you probably would know what's gonna happen after what happens after to the woman saying that she would have her revenge. Basically, the whole premise of this creepypasta is the fact that it's kind of a Pokedex related one. As you can see, after you learn that pretty much the whole point of this is about Frostlass, and one of the basically this the title comes from its Platinum Pokedex entry, which is, it freezes prey by blowing its negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit breath. It is said to then secretly display its prey. So there's that, and the fact that the whole premise of this, how the woman then comes back as a Frostlass, is basically based off the Heart Gold, Soul Silver entries. And legends and snowy regions say that a woman who was lost on an icy mountain was reborn as a Frostlass. So basically, this borrows, if you thought the whole Kadabra Pokedex entry from Fire Red was kind of odd, this one's even more odder. I mean, basically now we're in Gen 5, and the whole premise of there being a ghost humans who die turn into a ghost Pokemon. We're pretty much gonna go ahead and say screw the whole logic on this and say that if something happens by accident and your hope is lost, such as being stuck up on a mountain where a blizzard's blowing through, you're likely going to come back resurrected as a Pokemon, or in this case reincarnated, and come back for revenge. In this case with this woman becoming a Frostlass and pretty much killing the musher one of the mushers who failed to save her in time. Now, I'll be honest, this was a pretty good short creepypasta. I mean, there's like no blood or gore, which is, you know, I guess it can be a plus seeing how it's overused a lot. It just basically is subtle. It's like all subtle at the start. I mean, it starts, you know, optimistic, you know, you read the whole point. A woman is like, you know, distracted by a herd of Pokemon, and the next minute her group is gone, and she tries to shrug it off, knowing that she'll probably be able to get back. The search team would find her, and then they would laugh it off, and it'll be a new day, but not entirely true. Basically, you realize that, seeing how, just by reading the title, yeah, obviously, you know, she's not gonna friggin' have a good, pleasant evening, especially when she is found dead the next day, but yeah, I was gonna read a longer one, which is also another original, because it's not like based off any other creepypasta, though it is a good one. It was long, but it's like long, and seeing what time it is right now doing this, I just wanted to do another short one, you know, to add up with the Creepy Black reading I did last night, which I was, like I said, I was gonna get around to doing another reading last evening, but I was too distracted with like other things, like mainly with Brawl, because I've been doing that all day too. So, but I digress. But yeah, basically, and all in all, this was another good story. I like it. I like this. I like the author of these stories. I mean, she pretty much has like original ideas, although having to borrow some elements from other creepypastas. Like I don't think like borrow, but you pretty much, you know, how there's like, you know, weird Pokedex entries that seem a little bit dark to be in a kid's game, like with the whole, like the Fire Red Pokedex entry with Kadabra, and you know, like some Gen 5 Pokemon. I don't think I need to explain myself on that detail, but it was a pretty good one. I mean, starts out optimistic, you wouldn't worry about it, and then you realize, yeah, she's probably gonna get screwed, and then she's gonna come back not very happy. Back as a Frostlass. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Good story. Anyway, stay tuned for the next one, which I will probably get around to it during some time of the week, maybe Tuesday or something, because, like I said, my schedule, I'm like completely open on a Tuesday, so I have no classes, and yeah, when I get to one, you'll know. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Sorry if I kind of ran it off a bit, but yeah, alright. Again, thanks for listening to this one, and see you guys on the next one then.